Yo, what's up guys? Brian here. So I want to review PolyPup, tell you what's going on with it, and tell you about the layer 2 farming that's coming up for the Bone token. So first of all, PolyPup is obviously on Polygon, second layer solution to Ethereum. If you're new to DeFi, if you're, let's say, a long-time subscriber to the channel but you haven't dove in, there's a few things that I look for on these different platforms of why I maybe get in, why I stay away, and that kind of stuff. So we're going to go over some of that. And I have had on the channel, and I've had maybe on Steam, on Hive, various platforms and stuff, a lot of people trying to pop up saying like, well, these are scam platforms, this and that. These are not inherently scams. Now, can a DeFi platform become a scam for certain reasons? Yes, but inherently this is not a scam. It's more of a game. So it would be more analogous to saying that poker is a scam if you went to the casino and you got beat by some other players. You wouldn't necessarily say that poker is a scam. I have a friend that's a professional poker player, and he's also on these platforms, and he relates it a lot to poker, and it makes a lot of sense. You have to use the right strategy. Your timing has to be right, so on and so forth. You got to mitigate your risk. You got to pick and choose your battles. It's a minefield out here, so just keep that in mind. But inherently, what do we look for to make sure that it's not a scam? Like, you always want to check rugdoc.io for one, that it's been reviewed and it has a favorable review, that the code is, tried and true, things have been audited. You see the audit by tech rate, different things like that. Secondly, another thing that is going to prop the price up more is when there is some kind of auto compounding feature on these platforms. So you don't see it integrated in here. It doesn't have an auto compounding feature in there, but they did partner with beefy.finance and they had auto compounding features. Now, the reason the deposit is paused right now is because mining for PUP is just about over, but Bone is going to be coming out in 24 hours. And so we'll go over that, why that's happened. It's also on Adamant, which is another auto compounding farm. So you need the auto compounding, that it can auto compound these rewards. That allows the APRs and the APYs to get really high, which ultimately pulls more people in, and it seems more enticing that they're going to chase after those high returns. And you yourself need the high returns to make back any kind of fees or anything that you encumbered getting into the platform. So let's look at, and my strategy varied throughout this whole time. I didn't get in right away. I didn't really know much about kind of the developers or, it was audited and everything when it started, when I got in, but it was not on Beefy. It was not on Adamant, so it didn't have the auto compounding. I kind of went in with a smaller amount on a whim, and ultimately the price action has been pretty crazy. Pre-farming, it went from $1 and it went clear up over $400. So now, is every farm going to do that? No. So obviously it went up there. I didn't get in until down here. So then it went up, and then this thing bled out, and I was in the house of pain. And I was just letting it run. I was like, I'm going to have to be in this for a really long time, and hopefully this thing can plane out. And then once it got added to Beefy, once it got added to Adamant, then the price shot up, and I was kind of back in the game, so to speak, or things sped up a lot for me. So initially I was in some degen pools, and what I mean by that, if you're newer, is that I was in like the PUP, matic, had liquidity in there, and then also had liquidity in PUP, USDC. And the way I looked at it was, let's say if I was going to invest $1,000, and I was like, okay, well, I'll do $500 towards PUP matic, and I'll do $500 towards PUP USDC, and let those things run. And obviously, if the APR is high enough and your impermanent loss situation doesn't get bad enough, then as long as I end up with more than $1,000, then I've came out on top. So that's one way to look at those. Now, after that, then it's just like, okay, and then if I secure the bag, so to speak, and then go into stable coins, then I'm typically, and if there's no stablecoin to stablecoin on the farm, I'm more looking at the pools And you're looking at DAI, you're looking at USDT, and you're looking at USDC. So after I'd secured the bag, I went into the USDC pool, but it needed to make up more than 4%. And with what I was earning, initially I was going into DAI, but it had to make up this 4%. And since mining was going to stop on it, then essentially I started just stacking this in my wallet, and I stopped putting into here, but it was earning a tiny bit, so I left it in there until this whole thing ends, and then I end up pulling it out. So that being said, I came out ahead by a little bit, but then when you calculate it out, it's like, okay, yeah, like let's say I ended up over 30% ahead, which is pretty good in a few days kind of thing, to make a 30% return on your money, even though the number wasn't like big. So that was that, like, let's say on that pool per se. And like I said, I didn't keep putting it in DAI. I started stacking it just in my wallet because I didn't want to encumber this 4% fee when the mining was going to stop today. So you kind of have to know what's going on, and you got to kind of adjust your strategy and the gamification and just kind of the tokenomics and sort of the strategy can end up sort of changing over time. Now, that being said, let's say if you were on here and you were putting PUP in here, it didn't make sense to put PUP in there when you could be on Beefy and auto compounded on here, and it was paying about 1% a day. But like right now, deposits are paused. So, so let's say what's going to happen with Bone. Now, layer 2 is starting, but going back to PUP, what's going on here is that 31,000 was supposed to be minted, but they had to go over a little bit because of the time lock. So it's going to go on up, let's say 31,400 or whatever. So it's almost there. We're at 31,296. And then, once it gets there and stuff, there's not going to be any more PUP. And then it's like, well, is this going to be worthless? It's still saying 146. Well, no, because then over on the layer 2, you're going to be able to still use PUP to get into these kind of pools at 0%. Now, should you get in this or should you do any of this? That's up to you. That's, it depends on your risk. It depends, again, like risk tolerance. It depends like what your strategy is going to be, this and that. So a lot of times with these, if you're kind of able to, get in early, sort of employ the right strategy, then you can keep kind of rolling gains over to like other platforms, sort of spread out. And then you're just kind of harvesting passive rewards, keeping your eyes on these things. And obviously we've seen some guys that, there could be in 20 different farms. I'm not in that many, but what I'm saying is you got to spread your risk out, and you got to be kind of up to date on sort of what's happening, what moves are being made. So with Bone, it's going to be coming out, and it's going to be minting instead of 31,000, it's going to do 65,000, and it's going to be emitting at half the rate that PUP was. So tokenomics wise, all that kind of stuff, what's that going to do to the APRs and the APYs? I'm not really sure. We just don't really know. That's one of the tough things, how to gauge this. I'm going to be looking at these prices. This shot up. I tried to get in. We got botted pretty hard. I got in like real high, and I was like, wow, like I'm just totally going to get hosed on this. And then luckily there was this little pump. I was able to get out with a little bit of a profit because I just didn't want it on my mind. I was able to get out, and I was able to also, get out with a profit on, the PolyPup, just the PUP stuff, not just the layer 2 stuff. So right now I'm ahead. I can just walk away on this and have a little bit of a gain. So I'm going to be monitoring this price, obviously what the price of PUP is. If this dumped real hard, and then I could, maybe the strategy would suddenly be, getting in PUP, but it would probably be over on Beefy. Maybe that's a strategy. Maybe if the price of Bone suddenly dumped, it's likely going to dump right when the mining starts. and so maybe there's an opportunity kind of in the future. Right now, this seems to be kind of the hot thing, even though there's way more money locked up in Polycat. So you see 157 million is locked up in Polycat, but why is that? Because the auto compounding vaults are here integrated on it, whereas with Pup, there's no integrated auto compounding. You have to be over on Beefy.finance or Adamed or something like that. So you got kind of more platforms, you got additional risk kind of be on multiple platforms, this and that. So right now for Pup, 12 million locked. You want the thing to be over 5 or 6. You definitely most likely want it over 10. Otherwise the liquidity gets too thin. And then, clearly you want it to get up there 20, 30 million, 100 million. But again, with that, sometimes the APYs can go down because you get too many people that are maybe too sophisticated, or whales can come in, and since there is enough liquidity, they can move in and out. Whereas some of this smaller stuff, it's like not worth their time. Like if it's this low, sometimes it's not worth their time, because if they try to sell, they'll just completely tank the market, and it just makes it really tough for them to get in and out. It's not worth it. So that's that. Now, if you're newer to DeFi, if you've been subscribed for a long time and you're like, well, how do I get on Polygon? How would I even get on this? Typically, I use the evodefi.com bridge. See, there's this bridge, token bridge right here. It goes to this. You can go Binance Smart Chain to Polygon. And then you can, usually I just use USDC, so I'm starting at a stable base. You can also do Ethereum, or you can do their Gen X token. So that's always the bridge that I've used. There's other people that have used this Xpolite bridge, Xpollinate. I never got that to work personally. I don't know. I might have been doing something wrong. I don't really know. But this is what I got to work. And I'm also on the farms. I'm in this farm on the Binance Smart Chain, and I'm also on the matic side. Also on that chain as well. So that's that. Again, like I said, you got to pick and choose your battles. This whole situation is a minefield out here. There's been a lot of rug pulls, but if you get a favorable review from the rug doc, that's a positive. Obviously, the auditing is a positive. And then in Telegram, the developers have been pretty... they've been answering questions. The team's been answering questions and stuff like that. And so it seems like this is somewhat of a decent platform. But again, like I'm mentioning before, your risk tolerance may be like way lower. Maybe you're wanting to go in with $100-$200, because that's all we all start out with, that obviously, really. And then it's as your risk tolerance increases, or you kind of like feel like the strategy and can kind of look at this and stuff, maybe you're going in deeper. Again, I would say spread out your risk and pick and choose your battles, and kind of be up to date on what's kind of going on. Things can change just pretty much in a heartbeat. So anyway, guys, hopefully that helped. Are any of you guys on PolyPup? Leave a comment below what you guys think if you're on these DeFi platforms, and please subscribe to the channel, hit notification bell, and follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Steemit, Hive, everywhere. See ya.